Sheriff, wake up.
Sheriff.
Oh, sorry.
You're falling asleep during practice again.
It's getting late.
What time is it? Oh. Whoa, gotta get going. You know I'd never miss an episode of The Children's Corner. When I'm sitting around with my homework all done and there's nothing to do, I call all of my friends, they don't answer the phone. Where have they gone to? Where do you go?
We're gonna go to the children's corner. Where do you go? We're gonna go to the children's corner. Where do you go? We're gonna go to the children's corner. Where do you go?
Leonard, would you stop playing with that thing? It's distracting.
Oh, I like being big.
It's distracting. Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to the town of the Children's Corner, located in the world of the Magical Couch. I'm Sheriff Stephen J., the Sheriff of Sauge County. But I'm not in the world of the Magical Couch today, or the town of the Children's Corner, or even Sauge County. I am in the world up above, back in the state of Florida. Now, if you remember a while back, I was in the state of Maine, and I met a talking lobster, called himself Leonard.
There must be something around here to eat.
I gotta feed Leonard. He's been bugging me all day about eating. Maybe I'll have me a lobster roll. Leonard? Hey, where'd he go? Leonard? Come on! Leonard! You're so big!
Ew, don't eat the white stuff.
He had a voice exactly like Mr. Dill. We became very good friends. You know, good friends are hard to come by. So he's a very good friend of mine, and he told me a few things about his lobster shell and blah, blah. At any rate, he said we ought to come back here because things are happening. So I'm back at that plant in the state of Florida. It's that plant that takes the lobster shell that's been munched from the state of Maine, and they bring it here to be processed. Now, this plant is a fully operational terminal. And they terminal all kinds of stuff here, all kinds of material here. Now, to me, it looks like clumps of dirt, okay? They call it material, and last time I was here, they didn't have all that much of it, but this time it's loaded with it. And to my left are just mounds and mounds of calcium silicate. And calcium silicate just happens to be the name of the corporation that owns the plant. So, why am I here? Well, updates. That's right, we have updates about what they're doing with the munched lobster shell that they get from the state of Maine. Now remember, that lobster shell contains a natural compound. I'm talking about chitin, which is an essential ingredient contained in the lobster, crab, and shrimp shells. This compound helps hold the shell together and strengthens the shell. And it has antifungal properties as well. And it is not harmful to humans or pets. Chitin also absorbs water and is a natural odor reducer, making it great for kitty litter and other applications, such as the absorption of metals and construction site water runoffs. That chitin product is brought here, where chemists turn that chitin product into another product called chitosan. So how exactly do the chemists convert the chitin to chitosan?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I have a set of samples here, and what we start with in the feed is a specifically sized lobster shell. Okay? Now that lobster shell is raw lobster shell that's been dried and sized. After we receive it, we do a process that we call deprotonation. Now the protein is the fats and the meat and the material that's still left on that shell. So we purify it by removing extra proteins that weren't taken out of that feed material. Then we remove the inorganic part of the lobster shell. And those inorganics consist mainly of calcium, magnesium, and some of the 10 major elements. And we end up, after that part of the process, with a pure chitin. Now that pure chitin goes to another step which we call deacetylation. Now what we're doing there is removing with an acetyl group from the chitin. At this point, we have a high molecular weight chitosan. Now, from that product, we can make a low molecular weight chitosan. But that involves another process.
So let me get this straight. You have two products here. You have a high molecular and a low molecular chitosan. Okay, after your additional step to make the low molecular chitosan, what happens then?
Then the material is rinsed, then dried. Now that's a very delicate part of the process because if you go to a too high of a temperature, you degrade the goodness out of the chitosan.
So basically you're taking away the beneficial properties of the chitosan.
Absolutely. So-
You're burning it.
Well, you could.
You
If you don't do it correctly, yes.
All right. Well, were you taking notes? As you can see, making low molecular weight and high molecular weight chitosan is not an easy process, and it is costly. And the low molecular weight chitosan is more for medical applications and that type of a thing. So they don't really concentrate on that here. They concentrate on the high molecular weight chitosan. However, if you want the low stuff, you can order it here, and they can make it here. However, you have to have a formula or a recipe to make it. And that's why I'm here today. After 2 years of costly experimentation through trial and error, hard work and constant testing, the recipe and process required to make both low and high molecular weight chitosan at this plant has arrived. This natural and environmentally friendly product is now ready for implementation. But where should we start? Let's see. We are in Florida, and they got that red tide here, so why don't we start with the red tide? So what exactly is red tide, and what exactly is the role that chitosan plays in treating it? The red tide are harmful algae blooms, also known as HABs, which occur when colonies of microscopic algae that live in the sea and fresh water grow out of control and produce toxins which kills fish, shellfish, marine mammals, and birds. These toxins taint the water and become airborne when they are at the surface. The name red tide comes from the fact that overgrowth of algae can cause the color of the water to turn red, as well as green or brown. A bad algae bloom will not only smell bad enough to dissuade people from even going to the beach, but can also cause breathing problems to swimmers that inhale the toxins. Other symptoms from coming into contact with red tide are skin irritations, rashes, and burning or sore eyes. One of the best known HABs in the nation occurs nearly every summer along Florida's Gulf Coast. However, certain human activities are making them more frequent. This includes fertilizer from farming, chemicals from factories, sewage treatment plants, and other sources that become dissolved in water on the land. This water, called runoff, eventually flows into the ocean, feeding the algae and causing it to grow faster, which creates the red tides. Red tides can last a few weeks, or in some cases remain visible for over a year. Many red tides will subside before reappearing again. Florida red tides are very common, and the duration of these red tides depends on several variables, including biological, chemical, physical, and ecological factors. The water currents also impact how long red tides last, and its toxins are able to move in the air for up to a mile, meaning that even if you are not right on the shoreline, you can be impacted. HABs are a national concern because they affect not only the health of people and marine ecosystems, but also the health of local and regional economies. But fear not, because when the red tide is treated with high molecular weight chitosan, it kills it. How does it do that? Well, chitosan is a natural attractant to the algae. It's also a flocculant. So it attracts the algae, it clumps it together, gets heavy, drops to the bottom of its water source, and it's deprived of light and oxygen. And it kills the red tide in a matter of days. Simple. Except chitosan is very expensive to produce. So this Florida plant adds a less expensive flocculant to a lesser amount of chitosan, which gives the same result, killing the red tide, but at a much reduced cost. This saves money, but you have to know the recipe of what percentage of chitosan to add to the flocculant in order to maintain the attractant properties. This process is nothing new and has been used in China for years. The methodology has already shown proof of concept, which has been acknowledged by HAB-CTI, which is the Harmful Algae Blooms Control Technologies Incubator, who are under the partnership of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science at Institute of Marine Environmental Technology, and the Mote Marine Laboratory, which is located here in Florida. The only thing new here is that this plant in Florida has taken the initiative and the money to figure out the recipe and the process to make the chitosan. So what's everybody waiting for? I mean, there's no need to be wasting more money on research here. We know how to get rid of and kill, or for a nice word, mitigate the red tide problem. Leonard, would you please stop playing with that thing?
It's so fun. Oh, I don't feel so good. Oh. Well, it was fun while it lasted. But where are my clothes? I feel so naked and afraid. I'm so hungry.
It looks like whatever Leonard ate in the lab the last time we were here finally wore off. Now, where was I?
I believe you were saying it was time for lunch.
Wow, that was fast. And no, I wasn't. I was about to tell everybody about the machine you're sitting on. Enter the mitigator. Now, the mitigator is the vehicle which will be used to distribute the solution onto the red tide and get rid of it. It was created here at this plant. Now, this is a two-man operation. It's pretty easy to use. And as a matter of fact, is there anybody out there that would like to try? Oh, I got some. Come on. Oh, come on up. These two volunteers are going to demonstrate the unit and how it works. Now, to my left, you have a pool of green algae. The solution not only kills red tide, it kills all kinds of algae. It'll kill the green algae as well. So we're going to spray it on the green algae, see what happens. Now, we have a hose going in to the water source that will suck out the water to the bottom here. And we have our flocculant. We're going to use kaolin. Dropping down, it mixes it to a slurry with the water, and it goes to the last tank, the mitigated tank. And then the chitosan will mix with that, and now you have your solution that we will spray on this green algae. Now we have two distribution cannons, and there you have it. And there it goes, right there. There they go. And it'll start back and forth, back and forth. And you can, make it go further, make it come closer, the spray. Pretty cool, huh? Now, the reason we're using kaolin as our flocculant, which kaolin is a clay, is because it's readily accessible here at the plant. It is stored in two large silos. Each silo has a capacity of approximately 8,000 cubic feet of storage. Now, there's a rail car unloading mechanism to transfer both solids to the silos utilizing a bucket elevator. The mitigator can be placed on a barge and not only used on the ocean, but in the estuaries as well, to kill off the red tide food sources before they enter the ocean, because those food sources makes the red tide even worse. And for those out there not wanting to learn how to operate this piece of equipment, the plant here will provide a crew to operate the mitigator for you. And it all began with that munched lobster shell that comes from the state of Maine. It's amazing. Well, I better go now. I gotta feed Leonard before we eat something else around here he shouldn't. But we had a happy ending here. The good guys, chitosan, wins over the bad guys, the red tide. Let's go, Leonard. Maybe we'll go have some lobster tail.
Oh, brother.
Leonard? Oh, what happened to Leonard? He didn't come out of the blue mass. Oh, I hope he's not stuck inside or anything. Oh, hi everybody. I see you guys made it back into the world of the magical couch from the world up above. I was just talking to myself. You caught me. I'm just reflecting on Leonard here. He was following me. I don't know if he made it into the Blue Mass or not, but if he did, I hope he's not stuck in the Blue Mass because he surely didn't come out when I came out. He's my newest good friend, too. I like that guy. I like the big Leonard, too, but I like the smaller Leonard the lobster. You know, it's more manageable if you kind of get my drift. But at any rate, so we're back now, and I just want to say I was very impressed at that plant in Florida. You know, the fact that they spent 2 years and their own money to research and find a solution how to make it, the chitosan, the whole bit, to kill the red tide. You know, it's a natural occurrence. It's not man-made or people-made or whatever. It's been going on for a long, long time. I think the first documentation of the red tide was 1840, I believe. At any rate, they say, though, that because people have moved into the state of Florida, more and more people live there, and you got wasteful stuff going on, and you got fertilizing going on, and that runoff going to the ocean is feeding the red tide and making it worse. Now, when I'm coming through the Blue Mass, I was thinking to myself, you know, I keep talking about flocculant, but how many people out there are kind of wondering, well, what exactly do you mean by flocculant? Well, flocculant just happens to be a Letter Chef word of interest. Flocculant. F-L-O-C-C-U-L-A-N-T. Flocculant. Meaning a substance that promotes the clumping of particles. Flocculant. Yeah, and that's exactly what it does. Now, you know, chitosan is a flocculant in and by itself, but it's the problem with chitosan. It's kind of lightweight. It's a flocculant, but it's a lightweight. You want something really heavy to make sure that when everything has come together, the algae, the chitosan attracts it, and all clumps together, that's heavy enough to drop it to the floor of the water source, so it, you know, is dead. It dies. It doesn't have that light or oxygen to keep it living. So that's why they add kaolin, which is a clay, because it's heavy, and it drops it right down. So I find that quite interesting, quite smart too, I might add. Now, flocculant can also be spelled differently. By changing one letter in the word, it gives it a completely different meaning. F-L-O-C-C-U-L-E-N-T. Flocculant. And what that means is to have or resemble clumps or tufts of wool. Flocculant. Well, getting back to Leonard, I hope he's okay. I hope he's not stuck in the Blue Mass. I hope he just didn't go through. I don't know. I should have been paying more attention, I guess. But like I said, he's my latest good friend, and, you know, just thinking about him, well, not kind of, it wants me to just break into song. Myself and me. I didn't know how lonely loneliness could be. All my friends have gone, they're doing the town. Uninvited to have fun can get you down. And through the years I've found that good friends are few and far, spending most of your life finding out who they really are is so true. Go to school, get a smile from some child who's your friend, only to learn from the teacher you're in trouble again. And be aware of the child who's trying to get ahead. He wants to get ahead. If mistakes are made, you could get blamed instead. And through the years I've found that good friends are few most of your life, finding out who they really are is the truth. And it can happen to you. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. It can happen to you. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. Rock and roll! And through the years I found that good friends are few and far, spending most of your life finding out who they really are is so true. It can happen to you, and it can happen to you. I need a good friend. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. I need a good friend. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. I need a good friend. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. I need a good friend. And it can happen to you. No, Mr. Dill. Not flatulence. Flocculent. Flatulence is what you get when you eat too many beans and you get all gassy. No, I'm talking about flocculent. Now, chitosan, it's a flocculent, but it's a light flocculent. It's not very heavy. And you don't need to use 100% chitosan to make this work, so they use a lesser amount to make it a less expensive solution, and they add in a heavier natural clay. That's the kaolin, and that is a heavier flocculent, just to make sure that the job will get done and everything will sink to the bottom of the water source. I just don't know how easier to explain that to you. And that mitigator they invented there, that's just genius.
I don't know why you told me this crazy story in the first place. I've never heard of any red tide, and there's no way I'm going to believe the part about a talking lobster.
You have got to be kidding. Oh, come on in. Have a seat. Yeah, I'm almost done here. I'll be right with you.
All of this ridiculous talk of talking lobsters has got my stomach a-rumbling. What is lunch? I'm so hungry.
We'll have to continue this discussion later on, Mr. I have to talk to this gentleman.
Oh, brother.
That's exactly what Leonard said. Good day, sir. I'm glad my deputies were able to find you out there in Fantasy Forest. The reason I wanted you to come in is because we've been getting reports from law-abiding citizens telling us that somebody meeting your description has been stopping robberies out there, which we really do appreciate. So I wanted you to come in because I wanted to ask you about these encounters and see if you knew anything about them. And by the way, you look kind of familiar. Have we met? Well, everybody, I'm going to have to get going because I got me some sheriffing to do. But I want to thank you for joining me today. And thank you for listening to my chitosan story. It's always great when y'all come by. And look forward to the next time we all get together on the Children's Corner. Are you sure we've never met? Do you have a name? How long have you been in the area? Have you got anything to say?
A man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Where do you go?
We're gonna go to the children's corner.
Where do you go?
We're gonna go to the children's corner.
Tell me, where do you go?
We're gonna go to the children's corner.
Where do you go?
We're gonna go to the children's corner.
Just where do you go?